next distance in 10 minutes with the first forerunner, Skeleton, and the second hit of the competition at 3:14. Bienvenue si vous nous rejoignez ici, la piste nautique de Bobsleigh de Laplagne, encore une fois, aux enfants. Bonjour, ça va, ça se passe bien? Cette précision, c'est la télévision, bien sûr, et il y aura bien sûr demain un autre programme, hein, oui, un autre rendez-vous. Venez nous retrouver ici demain, samedi 9 décembre, avec...
Bit to clean up. Hi Alex, hi Rosie. Let's go.
Avec 19 virages et ça fait en mètres carrés 6800 mètres carrés.
Dégagez la piste s'il vous plaît, précisément 15h09. Départ dans 1 minute avec Laurent Pagliari. Next start in 1 minute, clear the track, please, thank you. We go in 1 minute, less than 1 minute with the first skeleton pilots.
Race 2 of the BMW IBSF Skeleton World Cup. We're in Laplagne in France, the 1992 Winter Olympic sliding venue, which may yet become another of the newer sliding venues for the Winter Games. Welcome back, everybody, to the second and deciding heat of this first European race of the season, as we get ready to see who is going to come out on top of what looks like a pretty topsy-turvy field. Of our 32 starters, only 10 were here in the last World Cup race. Among them was not our reigning world champion, Matt Weston. Good start, but a loose run. He has got work to tidy up. He does, however, lie in third place, on target for his first medal of the season. Christopher Groothair is in second position, and Groothair is a big threat to our current leader. Only 800ths off the lead. He was the winner of the season opener, taking gold in Beijing. He's the World Cup points leader, hence the yellow vest, and has the experience, the knowledge, and the confidence to take the win here. But will he? Well, first he's got to get by our surprise first round leader, Jung Seung-gui. The Korean blew a 9-year-old start record out of the water and then put together a very convincing looking run in the first of the two heats to take the lead, a lead that was only realistically challenged by Groothair. So here's how they stand then. Jung ahead of Groothair by 800ths, and then the battle for third. Matt Weston ahead of teammates Craig Thompson and Marcus Wyatt, both within a 10th of the bronze medal. That could be very entertaining. Of our 32 starters, the fastest 25 go through into the second heat, so they will be led off by GB's Jacob Salisbury. Salisbury, one of half a dozen newcomers in the field making their World Cup debut. And behind him, the rest of the 32 sliders, starting with debutante Livio Sumomata, will be watching the action from trackside. So the forerunners are going down. Axel Junkner, like everybody else, limbering up in the gloriously sunny conditions. It's well, I was going to say it's ankle deep. It's not. It's knee to hip deep on the slopes around here. The season officially opens next weekend in Laplagne, but here, nearly 1,800 metres above sea level, it is snowing lightly today. The track is covered for every single centimetre of its distance, and that means no interruptions from the rain. There's Lucas Defaye, the young Frenchman, who is their representative in the men's field. Rasmus Johansson, you just saw there from Norway, where we head after Christmas to go racing in Lillehammer, another former Olympic venue being brought back into the World Cup fold. So Jacob Salisbury will be first off, and then we'll get into the top 10, the tie with Felix Kaising and Sami Meyer together, and it will be Jung Seung-gui of Korea who is last to go to try and claim his first ever win. Jacob Salisbury, on his World Cup debut, made it into the second heat. So, I beg your pardon, in his second World Cup race, on his debut in Beijing. He gets our heat underway. 5.65, started 5.64 in the first heat. And after the first 3 or 4 corners, it all got a little bit untidy. This is looking like a more relaxed Jacob. He's got a vast amount of experience in the track. It is one, though, that the younger British sliders do come to in their development phase. This is nice from Jacob Salisbury. His teammate Tabitha Stürker claimed an astonishing maiden win this morning in only her second World Cup race. Very nice looking run from Jacob Salisbury. Now, his first run down, a 62.06. A little bit of scratching there, but a 61.19. That's a massive improvement, nearly a second better, and didn't it look it as well? So 61.19 compared to 62.06. There's Martin Stuckers, silver medalist here last time men's skeleton raced. Well, that's a little more relaxed looking Jacob Salisbury on and off the sled. I thought he looked just a whole lot more composed in the second run. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. He'd made it into the top 25. Came down a little early there, hit the inside wall, which I've not seen a lot of. But I think that should see him climb up the order. He was 2900ths behind Canada's Blake Enzi and Yang Wengang of China. They were tied together for 23rd spot. Blake Enzi goes first as he tied Jan's time, 5.87, a little quicker than his 5.90 in the first heat. And every little fraction of speed added at the start gets multiplied as the track progresses by gravity, unless you wipe it off on the wall. Dropping behind a fraction, was 700ths ahead, and he needs to find a second of an improvement, pretty much, to stay in front of Jacob Salisbury. Right now, he's bringing it back. Again, he's looking a little more relaxed, I think, than in the first run. More composed, head up and then back down once he spots the line he's looking for. Another of our younger sliders, Blake Enzi, just 22 years of age. Still in the red, but it could be close. No, hits the wall on the way up to the finish line. 61.62. Well, it is an improvement on his 61.77 first heat. That might be enough to break the tie with Yang Wengang, but it's not enough to put him into the leader's box. So Blake Enzi in second place of our 2 sleds so far. You can see his start number was 25, so he started in the field but had to keep himself in it. That hard take on is really punishing the athletes, grinding the body down into the sled as they pick up that instant spike of G.
Aaron back home.
There he is for the cornfields of Alberta on his helmet. Next up, Yang Wengang of China, like Blake Enzi, with a 2900ths of a second advantage. And there's his coach with the sled on the ice, Dirk Matchens. Let's see what he's got at the start. 593 in the first heat. Again, any hundreds here will help. 589, so he finds another fraction. Still just a whisker slower than Blake Enzi, with whom he was tied in the first heat. Oh, little rub there, I think. Just coming down into turn 4. Suboptimal. As in, not really what you need. Oh, what a big late flop there. Eyeball's rattling in the socket as he gets bounced around. 1100s back. He's about on par with where Blake Enzi was. Third best speed. He's the third slider down, so he's going to lose out to Jacob Salisbury and Blake Enzi, really scrabbling here at the bottom. Well, he made the cut, which is what he was hoping to do, what their coach was hoping for them to do. Just make the cut, get down in one piece. 61.98. No, not as quick as his first heat at all. 61.77 first run, so he drops to the tail of the field. Only 25 sleds get a second run, so you're not going to drop out of the top 25. But Jan, the Olympic bronze medalist. Got his first ever World Cup medal on home ice in Beijing as well, with the bronze medal last time out. But, third of 3 so far, with 22 more to go. Rasmus Johansson from Denmark. Interesting run from him. 21st at the start, 22nd at the bottom. That looked like he could have had a good run all the way down. And the Dane still pretty new to the sport, pretty new to the World Cup as well. Rasmus, only his third World Cup race. Silver in the Junior Worlds at the end of last season. Sliding family. His sister Nana, also a slider, just 17 years of age, so I'm sure she will have her eyes on the 2024 Youth Olympic Games. He raced in the 2020 Yacht Games. Second best speed, holding his lead over Jacob Salisbury. Little more leg movement going on. Oh, what a big hit there, and that might not get him in front. It's a long run to the final clock at the line. I think he might be behind. He is, by a whisker. 61.67.
From Denmark.
Well, that big hit as he came down off corner 16. The final sector is long and relatively flat, and he wiped off the speed. But he made the cut firmly into the race, and he is in second place, just 700s behind Jacob Salisbury. Little late exit. And rub on the wall, and a big take on.
Hey, Martin, we speak Danish in Denmark, not Norwegian.
Indeed, indeed. Cut his chin there as well in that run. Thank you, Rasmus. Yeah, speaks more German as well. Lucas Defaye, next for France. As we spoke about this morning, his teammate Agat Bessar, who, like Lucas, grew up at this track, did not get to slide after recent remedial surgery on an Achilles injury from the end of last season. She's not fit enough yet to slide. It's really disappointing for her. .900s back from 2700s up. Jacob Salisbury really did have a very good second run, didn't he? He wasn't convinced about it. He was less convinced about his first run. Now steadying the ship, trying to bring it back, extending his lead to 1300, 1700s, third best speed, kind of wild, really kind of wild. Here we go, out of 16, last 3 corners, got to keep it clean, 1300s in front, should be enough at the line, no it's not, 61, 64. So Jacob Salisbury possibly doesn't want to be in the leader's box, but that's where he is at the moment. Lucas Defaye, 581. 100 slower at the start and 100 slower on the entire run than his first run. But there you go. He slips into second place. I think Jacob Salisbury was a little bit out of position down in 25th place after the first heat. And as a result, a better second heat is starting to undo some of that deficit. Well, there's Lucas. So he moves on, and Jacob Salisbury leads after the first 5 sleds. Tied with Lucas Defaye, 420th place, Yin Cheng of China. Yin set the time, and Lucas matched it. So with 5 down, it is Yin Cheng with a 3800ths of a second advantage over Jacob Salisbury. Second best speed off the second fastest start, 5.70 for the Chinese slider. Looking nice and smooth at the moment. Controlling the corner exits well. Building the advantage now, 4400ths in front. And this should see Jacob Salisbury able to go and get a warmer jacket. Only the 5th best speed out of 6 sleds. Ooh. Gap's halved, down to 2900ths. Should be enough. Really should be enough this time, surely. Oh, kind of relaxed into that a little bit, didn't he, before the finish arch. 61.41. So he takes the lead from a fairly disappointed-looking Jacob Salisbury. Jacob moved himself up from 25th place. He will be no worse than 20th, no worse than 21st. Yin Cheng, late exit there. But look at the way that he just allows the sled to come back down, uses his body to damp out any further resonance. And all look relatively well controlled. Not too much panic steering going on. So Yin Cheng leads, 19th after the first of our 2 heats was another of our rookies, Vincent Buff from Switzerland, just 22 years of age, the middle of 3 sliding brothers. Jean-Jacques who now slides for Liechtenstein, and Valentino, who's 17, and building himself up to speed for hopefully entering the Youth Olympic Games next February. Vincent's started in January 2021, so he missed the Youth Olympics in St-Moritz, or at least missed competing in it. One of our young sliders did compete in the 2020 YOG in St-Moritz. It's officially the Lausanne Games, but the sliding was in St-Moritz. As was the skiing, as were the speed ovals on the lake in the open air. All speed skating in the open air. How fantastic is that? 4th best speed, dropping to the tail of the field though, Vincent Booth. First run was a good one, second one. It's not wild, it just wasn't fast. 61.70. So he drops down to 4th place, tied with Rasmus Johansson. I do quite enjoy, by the way, when athletes have watched the first run and come back at you on camera with comments about your commentary. It's quite like life like that. It just shows that how engaged with the whole process the entire field is, which definitely makes my life easier in so many ways. A slightly disappointing second heat there for Vincent Booth. A big smile on his face. He makes his World Cup debut. Florian Austin, Austin Florian rather. Austin Florian. I wasn't quite sure what to make of his run. If you didn't have the clock, you'd think that's a really nice looking run. But the speed just ebbed out of the sled. 5:59 getaway. He started 5:66 in the first heat. And that was the 4th best start. So he's got a great getaway, but only the 5th best speed. He was the fastest man in the field so far off the block. So the lead, 2200s to 2/10 over Yen Chang. He had 1100s from the first heat. Not overly experienced on this track, but now starting to build that advantage a little. Only the 8th best speed though. It really looks to be something in the setup of the sled. He's still building that advantage. Maybe the speed ranking's not quite on the money. Across the line. 4100s up, a 61.11, and that's 4100s faster than his first heat. So that is a big improvement. So Austin Florian takes the lead away with 17 sleds still to go. I'm sure he would have liked to have been at least 10 spots higher. And again in this second run, the drive looked good. No major, really heavy flops or big skids or anything, but...
Woo. That's a little better.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, feeling the altitude. Everybody is. For China, their top slider in the first heat, Chen Wenhao. Let's see what Chen can produce. 5:79 first start, 5:75 finds a little bit more. He had 1100s in hand at the start over Austin Florian, but Austin really outstarting him quite dramatically. And the gap continues to grow. He's going to need all of this ice to unwind that speed disadvantage early on. A bit of a heavy flop. Is he coming back? Gaps back down to a 10th. Down to 300s, second best speed. Should be enough if he can keep it clean at the bottom here out of 16. Huge sideways skid into 17. He's in the green by 200ths of a second. Has he got the speed it takes to keep the lead to the line? No. 61.50, that monster skid. That really, I'm afraid, undid all the good work of the previous, 1,100 meters or so, 1,200 meters maybe. And that's the first really big skid like that I think we've seen off that corner. See if we pick it up a little late. It was coming off 16, I think. And just a monster skid. There you go. Look at that. Almost head on one wall, feet on the other. So Chen Wenhao slips a spot, and Austin Florian leads as we get close to our top 15. Manuel Schwerzer, great to see him back in the fold as well. His 20th World Cup race. Made his World Cup debut back in 2017 in January in Koenigsee. It's a long while back. Now 27 years old. A lot more experience under his belt. World Cup best results, 2 17th place finishes. He was 16th after the first heat. Needs to stay ahead of Austin Florian for a career PB in World Cup, but He is losing ground and may drop behind Chen Wenhao as well. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody in front of him retains their places. But if you can move up, oh, and he's coming. 800's back, late exit. And that's going to cost him through 16. Oh, just avoids the brush with the wall, but came whipping down early off 18, out of 19, in the lead. No, 100's back. Oh, brutal. 61-31. Willi Schneider. A great skeleton racer in his time. 61-3-1 for Manuel Schwerzer. Leaves him 100th behind Austin Florian. So he'll be no worse than 17th. He could equal his World Cup best here. And if one more sled drops back, he will beat it. So it is Austin Florian, Manuel Schwerzer, and Chen Wenhao, who are the top three with 15 to go. In the top 15 is another of our World Cup rookies, debutant Daniel Barefoot. So great start to his World Cup career for Dan. Raced in the ICC last year, raced in the World Championships. We saw him in St. Moritz in February. 5:93 getaway. He looked to have a pretty good first run. You don't accidentally get into the top 15 in 32 sled fields. Again, that eagle-eyed bird of prey on the front. I said reminded me a lot of Katie Eulender's helmet with the bald eagle of the USA, and his sliding style does as well. Ankles apart, knees apart, quite loose on the sled, and that's often good for speed. But he's losing a little bit of ground to Austin Florian and Manuel Schwerzer. They're only 100th apart, so he's going to beat them both or fall behind them both. Closing back up. Closing, closing, closing. 400s covering the top three. 61.36. Wow. So Daniel Barefoot will be no worse than 17th place on his World Cup debut. And he may pick up a place. And that means that for Manuel Schwerzer, it is a World Cup personal best. He'll be no worse than 16th now, better than he's ever done before. And for Daniel Barefoot, well, he sets the mark with his first ever World Cup race. No worse than 17th. That's where he'll be aiming to be higher than next time out.
It's good news.
Made the cut. Could yet make the top 15. Next up, a couple of German sliders. One vastly experienced, Axel Jung, Olympic silver medalist in Beijing. And Axel, with getting on for a decade of top flight experience under his belt now. 65th World Cup race. And there's probably a dozen sliders in the field who've got single digits of starts. Good speed, decent start, only the 5th fastest at the moment in the field. We've still got 13 athletes to go. Building the advantage. This is where Austin Florian says goodbye to the leader's box. Unless Axel ends up on his back here somehow, this is very definitely going to take the lead. How long he'll stay in the leader's box, we will have to wait and see. Building, 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 all the way down, 4,900s up. Should be getting on for 6/10 clear, 4,500s. Didn't gain at the bottom, 61.08 run, compared to a 61.10 in the first heat. Not a massive improvement in the second run for Axel Jung. 200s quicker, basically different mistakes from the first one. But he will be no worse than 14th place. Again, look at the legs, working hard here. He's not comfortable. He's not at home here. Doesn't feel it perhaps the way that he expects to. Again, look, head up as he's in a big skid. Just trying to see where the line is. So Axel Jung leads. Teammate Felix Seibel was just ahead of him. Felix in only his second World Cup race. Europe Cup champion, I beg your pardon, Intercontinental Cup champion 2021, and the runner-up in the second tier series over the last 2 seasons. Finally gets his second World Cup race after starting in Innsbruck in 2021 and then doing the World Championships in Altenburg in 21 as well. So it's been 2 full seasons back in ICC since his one-off World Cup race. Now it looks as though he's going to make the best of this, but will he be ahead of his teammate Axel Jung? The gap had gone out to 1300s, it's back down to 700s. He's quicker than Jung at this stage by 1 kilometre an hour. That's big speed compared to Axel. Axel lost ground at the bottom. The lead is going with Felix Seibel, isn't it? Keeps it clean down at the bottom of the track. Out of 19, little uphill rise. He leads by 2/10, 60.92.
Good job, Felix.
So 61.06 in the first run, 60.92 in the second. 1800s quicker or something. 1400s quicker. But there you go, takes the lead and guarantees himself no worse than 13th place. So good to see a smile on his face. When you're in a battle with a teammate with the experience of Axel Jung, the Olympic silver medalist, you know you've got to bring your A game. He had a good run there. So, with 2 Germans in the leaders box, we next get to Austria's Alexander Schlindner, another of our tall, rangy athletes. And he's only got 0.04 of a second in the bank over Felix Seibel, a bigger 100 of a second over Felix Seibel in this tight group of sliders, but 5.85. So he hangs on. Seibel starting 5.88, adding just a fraction more to his lead, but Schlindner, that margin is coming down. Look at the aerodynamic form, that's going to be so important next week in Innsbruck. Long slide there. .600's back, 3rd best speed. Little quicker than Axel Jung was at the bottom. Is it going to be enough to take 2nd? It might be. Axel was 2/10 behind at the line. It's going to be close. No, not close enough. He lost much more down at the bottom. 61.41 slide. So a smiling Felix Seibel stays in the leaders box, and Alexander Schlindner tumbles 2 spots. 3rd place with 11 to go. But again, close to a personal best. He's got 4 12th place finishes, Alexander Schlindner, in 11 races. And he was 12th after the first run, dropping a couple of spots. There you go. Back on home ice next week. Vladislav Heraskevich next for the Ukraine. One of our 10 athletes who did race here in 2020. Vladislav finished a strong 8th place in that field. He's 200ths off a top 10 finish. So let's see what he's got. 5.91, 300s quicker than his first start. He needs to keep his form, keep his speed on board. 400s over Seibel. Only had 700s in hand from the first heat, and that has now evaporated. Felix Seibel did have a clean, smooth run. Heraskevich needs to pick up speed at the bottom. Second best speed. Fourth on the splits. He's going to drop behind Felix Seibel, Axel Jung and Alexander Schlintner at the moment, but now he's possibly getting close. Might even be second at the line. Oh, he is second at the line, 61.12. He set a 60.99 in the first heat. So that's a little bit of a slower run, but it does leave him in second place to Felix Seibel with 10 to go. Starting pretty much the same pace that he did 3 years ago. He started 91s and 92. He started 94 in the first heat here, 91 in the second.
Stand with Ukraine.
So, it is Felix Seibel of Germany who leads, 10 sleds to go. Top 10 for Italy's Mattia Gaspari here. Didn't race here in 2020, did race here in 2015 in a one-heat men's race. Mattia 593 getaway. He needs every ounce of speed and knowledge he's got on this track to try and hang on to a top 10 run. Only a few hundreds ahead of Felix Seibel. Seibel had a clean second heat. Now, Mattia, we know, made mistakes in the first run. So if he can erase those, not make different ones, and there's the art, then there is definitely a top 10 run potential here. Only 800s back. He's good at making speed at the end of the track. Let's see if he can do it again. Second best speed. Seibel was fastest down at the bottom though. 200s in it, it's going to be close. He had a little brush on the wall and another one. I think that's going to take the speed out of the sled. I think Felix Seibel will have the lead. He does. Second place for Mattia Gaspari. So Felix Seibel has the lead. Career best in his only other World Cup race, 15th place. Mattia Gaspari is in second with 9 to go. And Felix Seibel will be no worse than 10th. And that will be a World Cup personal best. 15th in his first race, no worse than 10th in his second. And Mattia Gaspari, it was a better second run, but these two touches down at the bottom of the track, I'm afraid, took the speed out of it. Okay, so we're going to have a German leader at the end of this, but whether it is Felix Seibel or Felix Kaisinger, only the next 60 seconds will tell us. Kaisi will win the sprint battle at the start, I think. Felix a 592, Kaisi a 561. That's an improvement of 500s over his first start, of 700s over his first start. As he got to the bottom of the track, schlechte Start was what he said. Bad start. Top speed so far, quicker than Axel Jung, quicker than Felix Seibel. Felix Kaisinger looking to reassert himself on this track. It's more of a level playing field perhaps, with not many sliders really knowing it well. Only the 5th best speed though. The gap was out to 7,400s. It's down to 5,700s. It will be enough to take the lead with 8 still to go. 60.80, 100th of a second quicker than his first heat. Off a start that was 700s quicker. Should have been getting on for 2/10 faster, all things being equal, because of that increased starting pace. Well, he has the lead, top 8 potentially, because he was tied for 8th place. There are actually still 8 to go, even though he's in the leader's box. So Felix Kaisinger leads from Felix Seibel, and Mattia Gaspari in third spot. 8 sleds to go.
Hey.
Sprinters struggling here. The two Felixes lying 1-2. Next up, Sami Meyer of Austria. Really good first heat from Sami Meyer. It was a little hard to judge. He was only the second man out of the start shed, but it looked good and it held up well, didn't it? 8th place after the first heat. Now, again, giving speed away to Kaisinger in the starting area, but that's nothing different he did in the first run as well. Found a couple of extra hundreds in the second start for himself. Second best speed. Big gap, though, back to Kaisinger. Now, if he just does what he did in the first heat, then he will bring this right back. Down to 3/10. Running out of ice. We're getting down towards the bottom of the track here. 2400s. Nice exit, keeping the speed on board. This long final corner and the run to the line, not enough. Oh, by 600ths of a second.
86, total time 2:01.
So Sami Meyer in second place with 7 to go. It is still a top 10 run. And again, everybody blowing like a racehorse at the bottom here. Start just under 1,800 meters above sea level. It's the highest of the tracks that we race at, even higher than St. Moritz. So Felix Kaisinger, the leader, from Sami Meyer and Felix Seibel. All German-speaking top 3 at the moment, but that might be about to be interrupted by Kim Ji-soo of Korea. Kim, 7th fastest in the first heat. Second quickest getaway. 5:62 matches it, goes 200s quicker. Not quicker than the fastest man through that trap, Axel Jung, but a big skid there. Will swing the balance away. All a little wild at the top of the track. And if he's tried to reduce the grip in the sled, reduce the friction, and just let it fly, it's not working at the moment. It's a little wild. 2300s back, 3/10ths back. He's in danger of dropping out of the top 3 behind Felix Seibel. Not much speed at the bottom, across the line. 4th place, he is behind Seibel, 61.29. So Felix Kaisinger leads from Sami Meyer and Felix Seibel, and Kim Ji-soo slips 3 spots to 4th with 6 to go. It will still be a top 10 finish, but not what he was hoping for. His previous World Cup bests, 3 5th place finishes. Again, right on the left-hand wall there, you really hit that fillet hard. The take on there is so abrupt. It's like bouncing a car up a curb. Final 6 sleds, race 2 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Amedeo Bagnis of Italy with coach Willy Schneider behind. They build sleds, not just for the Italians, but for so many athletes in the field. Let's see what Sami Meyer has got, what Amedeo Bagnis has got, rather, to try and keep Felix Kaisinger behind him. 5:62, another very quick start. Kaisi, 5:61, so just finding 100th over Bagnis at the start. The Italian's first run was a little wild and ragged. This is just bringing it back a bit, opening up the margin, another 500ths to 1000ths of a second. (1800ths), he's nearly doubled the advantage. This is a good drive down the ice, much tidier in the first for Amadeo Banias. He's going to take the lead by nearly 4/10, 60.49 slide. That's a really impressive second heat. That would have left him in 4th place after the first heat, rather than where he was in 6th. There you go. It looked tidier and it was faster. That's not always the case. Again, he was more in the centre there. Got a slightly less uncomfortable transition that we just saw from Kim Ji-soo, and that helps keep the speed on board. Think about it in a car. If you drive a car and you hit the curb going up onto a pavement, of course, you feel the shock all the way through the car. It takes speed out of you. Does the same to the sled here. Just checking the hair in the monitor. As we get to the first of our 3 Brits, Marcus Wyatt in 5th place after the first of the 2 heats. And there was quite a gap, 2200ths back to Amadeo Banias, so Marcus Wyatt should have his eyes firmly fixed on the battle for 3rd, because 3rd should be him or Craig Thompson or Matt Weston, or if freaky results happen, all 3 of them. Has happened before. We had a 3-way tie for gold in Innsbruck in the men's skeleton race a couple of years back. Gung Weng Chang, Matt Weston and Christopher Grothair tied for gold. Weston yet to come, and at the moment Amadeo Banias' speed at the bottom might be a challenge for Marcus Wyatt. Has stopped losing ground. Best speed of all. 1300ths up, here we go. Don't forget, last year the British sliders all changed onto the new sleds produced by the cooperation between Matthias Guggenberg and Martins Ducours. Now they're used to those a little more. 2900ths up, 60.42. That's a 10th quicker than his first run. And that is the 3rd fastest run of the competition so far. So quicker than teammate Matt Weston, who was 3rd in the first heat. Only by 100th, but it was quicker. Here's Martins Ducours. There we go. Marcus Wyatt finished 3rd in the World Cup standings last year, behind Matt Weston and Christopher Grothair. Matt Weston, the world champion. So, taking over from Amadeo Banias there, and Felix Kaisinger. Marcus Wyatt leads with 5 to go. Craig Thompson of Great Britain, 200ths ahead of current leader Marcus Wyatt, and 700ths out of the bronze. It's a great opportunity for Craig to really get in amongst the medals. Had a great World Championships in St. Moritz, missed out on the bronze by 100th of a second, but was really in there swinging all the way through. Good start, 5.66, needs to keep it together. Building his lead over Marcus Wyatt, but now it's coming back down. Wyatt had a very good bottom part of the track. Let's see if Craig Thompson can do enough to hang on. 300ths in front. Wyatt was fastest at the bottom. He's going to be the leader. Craig Thompson is going to be in 2nd place at the line if he keeps it clean here. Amadeo Banias 2900ths back. So Craig Thompson will be in the top 5. Yes, he is. 60.59. A whisker slower than his first run, which was 60.50. So Marcus Wyatt leads from Craig Thompson and Amadeo Banias. 3 to go. Big smiles as ever from Martins Ducours. Yeah, Craig shakes his head, a little disappointed. A couple of places it got away from him. See him working hard with the steering here. Look at the angle that the legs have adopted. They're not tucked in behind him. They're working hard, and there, down at the bottom, from 16 on down, it's a massive graveyard of time. Copyright John Morgan. So, what about Matt Weston, the world champion? Can he claim a medal here? $900s up on Wyatt from the first heat, adds 100th to that with the start. Best speed of all from the world champion, ahead of Kim Ji-soo. Now he was 2800ths off gold, 2/10ths off silver. So in theory, this should be about who gets the bronze out of the three British sliders. And right now, he is just creeping away from Marcus Wyatt. But races are strange things. Sliders make mistakes. Best speed of all. Big height there as well from Matt Weston, but he handled it on the exit. Dad here in town watching as well. Planning to be at all the remaining World Cup races. Such an arch enthusiast. Across the line, 60.26, 60.43 in the first heat. He did tidy up those errors. So, GB Skeleton 1, 2, 3 with 2 to go.
It's a workout, this. Oh, yeah.
It is a workout. At this altitude, it is super physical. Of course, it's very anaerobic as well. They burn up their precious blood oxygen at the start, and then they have to try and ease the sled down as well in this altitude. Not easy.
Whew. Cleaned up a little bit, but YouTube and Matt Weston together.
Okay, 2 to go. Christopher Grote here, our Olympic champion, our winner in Beijing 3 weeks ago, our World Cup points leader, our World Cup champion, and then Jung Seung-hui. Well, Christopher Grote here has started to get into the winning business in World Cup races, and not just on the big days, you know, your 2 World Championships, your 1 Olympic gold, that kind of stuff. Grote here now with 5 World Cup gold medals under his wings, including that one shared with Gung Wen Chang and Matt Weston in Innsbruck a couple of years back. 800s up. It's not much. He gives away a lot at the start to Matt Weston, but he drives really nicely. Christopher Grote here starting to ease away. Best result on this track previously is a 4th, dropping into the red. Is he going out of the medals? This is going to be close. What's he got at the bottom? Not enough. 60.71. Matt Weston is in the medals. Christopher Grote here will still likely be the World Cup points leader at the end of this, but he slips to 2nd place, tied with Marcus Wyatt. 1 to go. Weston will get at least a silver. Grote here and Wyatt at least a bronze. Wow, 1 to go. Whoa. Look at that big, hard take on. It's been a few sleds since we've seen anybody really thrown up in the air like that, and that's the start of the rot. That's where the speed goes. Takes a while to make itself shown. Now then, big day potentially. We had a first-time winner in women's skeleton. We could have a first-time winner in men's skeleton. 28th World Cup race for Jung Seung-hui. Tied for 11th place here in his first race on this track in 2020. And his last race on this track in 2020, another new start record, 5:51. Absolutely sensational stuff. Russian rocket Alexander Tretyakov set the record here in the 2015 race, and it's twice been broken today by Jung, and he makes this look like it's Innsbruck. What has he got in his head that nobody else has got? Half a second up. Phenomenal stuff. Still half a second in the bank. He can afford a few tiny little mistakes here and still hold on to this. 12th best speed probably doesn't matter. Into 16 with 4 tenths. Out of 16 with 3 tenths. Into 17. Into 18. Into 19. Is he going to win it? Is it gold for Jung? It is gold for Jung Seung-hui. His first ever World Cup win. Jeff Payne, the coach, delighted with that. He will be so happy for his man. A maiden win for Jung Seung-hui of Korea. 2 start records and his first ever World Cup gold. Congratulations. He has 3 silvers and 2 bronzes before today, and now he's got a gold to go with them. And he killed them at the start. Second fastest starter in the field, Austin Florian, 5:59. Fastest starter, Jung Seung-hui, 5:51. Well, what a great result for Jung. His first ever World Cup medal. So he improved by 10 places from his only previous race on this track, where he was tied for 11th 3 years ago. His first ever win comes off the back of 2 start records, 2 superb drives. It wasn't just about the start. He didn't hit everything else on the way down. 2 good, clean runs. Fantastic stuff. 60.46 final slide. Not as fast as his first by any margin, but it was enough to win from Matt Weston, with 2 bronze medals going to Christopher Groothair and Marcus Wyatt. Chris Groothair getting into the habit of sharing medals. Craig Thompson 5th, ahead of Amadeo Bañez. Then Felix Kaisinger, Sammy Meyer, Felix Seibel and Kim Ji-soo rounding out the top 10. Mattia Gaspari and Vladislav Heraskevich tied for 11th, as we had a tie for 11th 3 years ago, so we do again today. Jacob Salisbury picked himself up from 25th to 20th in Heat 2. Those are our final finishing positions. So there is your new race winner, Jung Seung-hui, a day that he will remember. Sounds like a cue for a big slice of cheese for dinner. Get on the raclette. Jung Seung-hui, great starts. I absolutely destroyed them at the start, but it's more than that here. 19 corners in 1,500 meters means you really have to drive, and he did. And if he had nerves, he managed to control them just enough to win by the blink of an eye, 800ths of a second. Christopher Groothair, our World Cup points leader. Jung vaults to 2nd, ahead of Marcus Wyatt, Matt Weston and Craig Thompson. Vladislav Heraskevich, still 6th in the World Cup rankings. And of course, our Chinese athletes, 3 of whom were in the top 5, all slipped down onto page 2. They didn't have the weekend here that they did on home ice. Chen, the best of them, in 10th ahead of Yin, Kim Ji-soo and Yan Wen-gang. Jacob Salisbury, 14th in the World Cup standings. So not too bad at all for 2 races into his career. And there are the rest of our points scorers for the season. 20 sleds in Beijing and 32 here, and that 32 sled cap will be standard going forward, with 25 going through into the 2nd heat. So we've already had 34 athletes in our races so far this season. We will likely see some different names in some of the other races as well. Well, that's it for Skeleton Day Friday here in Laplagne. Don't forget, we start the action on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. when we have the women's monobob race, and then it will be two-man from 1:30 Central European Time, 12:30 GMT. So monobob 0800 GMT, the first of our two heats, 9 Central European. We'll see you then. Bye for now.